friction of the wind, it's the end of the autumn, and I know that it would never change anything, at least for me, it does. When the leaves turn to red like burning fire, it's a sign of changes. God had made us a life mission, and it sets after the autumn, we should leave soon. Migration birds seek changes to survive, as my peers and fellow were scurrying around the tree hollow. I could see their excitement in the next migration. Besides, Mom told me that they just caught something fresh. That's enough to store all along with our migration. I was not surprised to saw another dead body besides the foyer this morning. They just found a dead cricket under the conifers. The tree hollow is now filled with the tasty smell of hemolymph. As my parents busying packing it into pieces this last meal. We had the last dinner before moving out this night, none of them were at the foyer. This means that I need to move to the main hall. I climbed the vertical lines on the tree bark with my claws. The feels that grounded with gripping force makes me calm. I am more confident when I was able to act with static friction, charging my thigh with some force, then I jumped higher. Performing another plyometric that fulfilled my satisfaction. Great, 3 jumps to reach the hall this time. Nocto, why are you still keep crawling? We are birds, not bugs. Just stepping into the hall, I encounter my big brother with his critique. My habit was always an eyesore to him, I always move like this. I explained. Since this is my house and I had the freedom to move all the way I like, yes you could, but no longer when the winter comes. I always explained how tough the migration is, it is no child play. You are fucked off if you did not get used to flying. He started boasting about the history of him since that last migration. His story was always the same, how he survived from the bad storm during the fly. And the honor he escapes from the hunter that targeting him from the ground. This is the second time my big brother joined the migration. From his expression, I know that he was filled with expectancy. Okay, then. I brush him off with a sign, always the opposite from my siblings. My strength in my wings was just an average level. Sorry to said that my flying test was just a flyover after apple polishing to my flying coach. My confidence often gets a discount when my peers stereotype me as inactive. My parents just finished packed the meal. I heard their steps into the hall. Correcting my posture, keep flapping my wings as everyone did. I made an allusion to let them assume that I entered here finishing a short flying route. Nocto, seems that you haven't prepared for the migration. Mom observed me and conclude, we need to be fueled up before the winter comes. I am sure that my brother did that. There are theories that the body tends to store fat for fuel. In some cases, a well-built physique will turn fat into muscle instead of fat. His visible muscle under the feather tells that he even trained for the migration. I looked at the rest of the family members, they were all appeared bulkier than before. It is necessary because we spend tons of energy during the migration. She was right. My current physique just explained it all. Underfed makes my feather seem shrinking a bit. They not seeing me preparing for the flying for a week, I was underprepared, mentally and physically. Seems that Mom's still not aware of my decision, it's hard to tell. But I can't escape it anymore. I found my sound difficult. Actually. I am not going to join the migration, I confessed without contact with my big brother's bossy eyes. Sometimes I think that he took over Mom and Dad's place by blaming my fault. He would question me without listening to my explanation. At least my parent does. Are you serious about that? Mom would make sure that I am not joking. After saw I nodded my head, then she continued questioned. But why? I just don't want to die at the place that I don't know at all. At least here. I dead it where I belong. This is my reason, partially. There was a famous say in our bird's word, avoid flying lead to the dead, while flying makes you facing the death. No denying that there are thousands of obstacles awaiting us during the migration. They said that half of our species death in bad weather, a quarter of us death under human's hand. I noticed the rules, only the strongest will survive. Boy. Dad interrupted the conversation. He gave me a serious and dignified look. You should grow up. Excuses don't work for nature. It just does what it should, something internal blasting from my throat. This sentence was a trigger. And I came out of something deeper from my thought, so that's the reason Bobber ended up. I murmured, tried my best not to explode. What? That cocoon that found at the basement level? I saw you dismembered his dead body, so what? We eat thousands of bug.
Are you ready? Have you ever met Death? She's quite nice. Oh yes, and she is a she. Before I met her, I always imagined Death to be some sort of scary-looking thing with a cloak, not quite human, not quite monster. Death is actually quite beautiful, to be honest. Nothing to be afraid of in the least, on the contrary, I imagine people wouldn't dread the actual event itself if they knew Death. It's not the first time I've met her, right now, that is. I've caught glimpses of her passing by probably 100 times during my career. I'm a fireman, you see. I saw her carry away a heartbreaking number of people over the years, those who were broken beyond my healing hands, and I even saw her come for me once or twice. Hazards of the trade and all that, she's here currently, of course. Don't worry. It wasn't a surprise. I welcome her as she lowers herself to sit beside me, taking the time to settle in before looking out at the vast forest beyond. As I behold her now, not in passing, not out of the corner of my eye, but seated beside her as an equal, I truly recognize how undeniably stunning she is. Her humble power and regal posture. It reminds me of the redwood forests of Sonoma County, where we are now. The trees have a certain way of making you feel small. In a good way. Like there's something majestic watching over you. Hello, Paul, good to see you again, ma'am. Oh, well, that can't be the truth, she says with a sweet chuckle. I laugh and take her by the arm, coughing as I do. So. It's for real this time, is it? It is. I'll be honest, I always told myself I was ready for you. But now that we're here, I admit I'm a bit afraid. Death sighs and puts her head on my shoulder. It's silent today, like the air around us has already died. Well, I'm here. I won't let you go. I laugh again. That's a phrase most people would tremble at, coming from you. She smiles and holds me tight. I suppose. You're not like most people though. I nod and fall silent once more. The trees sway back and forth, slowly, gently, soothingly, almost like a pendulum inside a grandiose grandfather clock. And yet, they tower above us indifferently, their agedness transcending the minutiae of mortals like me, every human life but a blip of time held against the millennia they've ruled this land. Did you ever fall in love with that one girl? The one you were with all those years ago? I smile wide, the joy hardly containable at the thought of my now wife. Tawny? Oh yes. Head over heels. Fell in love, started a family, 3 kids you know, got my white picket fence home and all that. It's been a fairy tale, to say the least. I wouldn't have planned it any other way, even if I could. Oh, that makes me so happy. I have to say, I could have predicted it. The way I saw her look at you, well, full disclosure, I had just saved a man from choking to death, forgive the phrase. I imagine that helped woo her over. Lucky me. Death laughs again, and I feel a wave of warmth rush through me. A comforting blanket in a time that seems so cold. What about you? I ask, honestly curious. Have you ever fallen in love? A sparkle flits across her eyes, and her face lights up like it's her favorite topic. I fall in love every day, Paul. Everyone I meet. Not very many people know it, but I love you all so much, it's why I do my job. In fact, I can't stand to see a single one of you suffer for very long. So, when your time comes, I'm there to take you to somewhere pain can't find you ever again. My heart skips a beat at the thought, and a dark shadow passes over my face. Death must see it, because she looks over and nudges me in the side, giving me a questioning look. I take in a deep breath and train my eyes on the murky horizon. Where is that? The place, I mean, where there's no pain. Death pauses for a moment, and I can see she's considering her next words carefully. Then, she releases my arm and brings her knees up to her chest. White shores. An endless field, ever upward. Ever onward. A kingdom. An adventure. It's different for everyone. It'll be different for you. But one thing I know is that you won't be disappointed. Have you seen it? For me, that is, I have. Is it hard to get there? Is it hard to die? Oh, no, love, she says, placing her hand on my back. I'll be with you the whole way. You have nothing to fear. A tear runs down my cheek, my worries now somewhat abated. My thoughts turn to my family and to the awfulness that they'll soon be put through. I almost feel bad that it'll be so easy for me, over so quickly, at least as death so advertises, while they struggle with the inevitable challenge of losing a loved one. I can't imagine what this will do to them. My oldest barely turned 9 a few months ago. It's not fair. But since when is life ever fair? Will they be there with me? Eventually, I mean, oh yes, she answers, knowing to whom I'm referring, but not yet. Don't worry. They'll be.